Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ellen Truskowski. I am the Director of Student Assignment for Pinellas County Schools, and joining me tonight is
Kim V., Assistant Principal and Magnet Coordinator at John Hopkins Middle School.
And we're here basically to walk you through the acceptance process so you know what to expect when it opens up next Monday, February 15th. Please note if you have any questions to go ahead and jot them down or write them in the chat box. We will be addressing them later. We're going to start off taking you through a simulation so you can see exactly what to expect every single step of the way. And then we'll talk about some different trouble spots or clarify any of the different aspects with different results, what they mean, and help you make that decision a little bit easier. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Kim V. to walk you through as a parent and show you exactly what to see when you go to review your status of the application.
All right, everyone, before we get started, you are going to need a few things tonight. You're going to need a sticky note or a piece of paper, and you're going to need something to write with. First, I want you to write down acceptance period, February 15th through the 26th. Those dates are very, very important because those are the dates in which you need to go back into the reservation system and look and see what seats have been offered to you and make the decision on which program you would like to accept for next school year. Second, I want you to write down so you can remember to make sure that on the 15th, when you go back in to accept or to review your options and to make a decision, you should have, if you can find it, parents, you need the application confirmation email. And the reason why is because there's an application number in that email, in that confirmation email, and that will help you when you go back in and search in case you have any problems with the name or date of birth, if there's any glitches that you're having problems with, the application number will make your life much easier. And the most important thing that you need to have is your parent username and password. So if you do not know where your parent username and password is, now's the time to start looking for it so you're ready to go for February 15th. If you need a password reset, now's the time to do it. So of course you can contact your current school or any school closest to you and bring a valid ID and they can reset that, or of course you can call student assignment and they will help you as well. So first you're going to go, once you have all that information, you're going to go to the reservation site, which can be found on the PCSB website, and you're going to go to the student reservation system. And right here where it says username and password, you're going to type in that password that you saved in a special spot. Sorry. All right, I had a minute there where I thought my password wasn't working. You're going to select the option. Remember, you're going through just like we did when you applied. And so since my child, for this simulation, has never attended Pinellas County Schools, which is how I applied, that's the option that I'm selecting. And of course, we're going to be selecting the district application program acceptance period. Now, this is where you're going to input the information for your child. This may cause some difficulty for you because you may misspell their name, you may not put in a hyphen. This has to match exactly what you put in during the application period. Here at the bottom, you'll see application number. If you have that email, the confirmation email, you can find your confirmation number, your application number, and you type it right here, and that's all you have to do, and that will take you right to where you need to go. If you can't find your email because you're a hot mess like me and you can't keep up with it, you're going to type in your kiddo's name. Now, I'm purposely misspelling my name as an example to tell you or to show you what's going to happen if you make an error on this page. So after you've put in the first and last name and you've inputted the date of birth, we're going to push continue. I forgot to mention that you can also search by student ID. You can find your child's student ID number in their portal where you check the gradebook grades and attendance and those kinds of things. the student number is found there. All right, so it brings up a screen. This is the student information that was entered, and I'm going to review this very carefully. And as I'm reviewing this, I realize that, oh my goodness, I spelt my Sweetness's name wrong. So I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to come over here and push search again. Yes, you have to retype all the information. Again, if you have the application number, you can put it in, which I'm going to show you how that works. That's going to be the easiest way, parents, just putting in the application number. And voila, it brings up everything about my kiddo. First and last name, I'm checking the birth date. And so I'm going to select right here and continue. This is the page that everyone is waiting to see. This is the page where you get to see the programs that you've applied for and to see if you've been invited a seat. Also see what your initial wait list number is, and this is where you're going to make your decision. Let's take a look at some of these boxes. Of course, you see the accept column, and you'll notice the invited column. So there's 2 red check marks here, which means I've been invited to the Center for Gifted Studies for Johns Hopkins, and I've also been invited to the Communications, Journalism, and Multimedia program at Johns Hopkins. No other program has invited me to the school. The next column is the initial wait list column. You'll see that this shows I'm number 1 on the wait list for the Visual Arts program at Johns Hopkins Middle School, and I'm on number 49 for the wait list at the Academy of Engineering at Azalea Middle School. And then you will see I'm marked ineligible for Madeira Beach Fundamental. The initial wait list number will change after March 8th. So after the acceptance period is over, then there's an appeals process. The numbers will change because we look at sibling priority and those kinds of things. So this initial wait number could change. They will be finalized after March 8th. So although number 1 is super exciting, don't get overly stressed that you're number 49. The ineligible column is going to tell you that you are ineligible for a program. You could be marked ineligible because maybe you were applying for an IB or ACE program and you did not meet the entrance criteria. You could have applied for a gifted program and you do not have an active EP or you're not eligible for the gifted program. You applied for PCCA and you didn't audition for the program, therefore you would be ineligible. And also you could be ineligible if you have 10 or more referrals or a assessor, you would be ineligible for behavior. So before you move on, you do need to make a decision. If you don't make the decision, you can go back during the acceptance period anytime between February 15th and the 26th to make your decision. And parents, if you make this selection and you talk it over with your other, your husband or your wife or grandma or whoever you're making this decision with, or you talk to your child and you feel that you want to make a change to which program you accepted, you can go back and make changes all the way through the 26th. After that, you cannot make any changes, at least in this way. So I'm going to go ahead and make my selection. I am going to choose Johns Hopkins Center for Gifted Studies. Parents, you can only accept 1 seat. You cannot check all the seats for the programs you've been invited to. One question that comes up for parents is, oh my goodness, I'm number 1 on the wait list. Should I not accept my seat that I was offered for the other programs and hold out and wait for that number 1 seat? If you have that question, parents, please, please, please call the school that you are inquiring about. So for example, I'm wanting to know, is there a chance that I would get in at the initial wait list being number 1 for the Center for the Arts? You would need to reach out to me and I will have an honest conversation with you and talk about what the chances are for you getting in. I would highly encourage you to do that for any program that you're wondering. Again, you need to make sure that you reach out to the school that you're inquiring about. All right, so I've accepted Center for Gifted Studies, and you want to make sure and continue the process. You can't stop here. There's a little note here, letting you know that if you're accepting the seat, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. If you're accepting a seat and you have another child that was also applying for the program that didn't get in, you do want to reach out and claim sibling priority after the application period. You have to check this box, so you're saying you're accepting the invitation to the program listed above, so you want to confirm all of that. If you made a mistake, of course, you can go back. If you're all set, you're going to continue from here. Now, parents, again, you must continue all the way through the process, just like in the application time. If you did not go all the way through, your application selection was not saved. So that's the same for the acceptance period. If you do not go through this process, your acceptance will not be saved. So this is saying that I have accepted the seat. You are going to put in, or I would encourage you to put in the contact email, because this is going to send you a confirmation that you've accepted the seat. Parents, this is very important because things happen, and this is your proof that you've been offered a seat and you've accepted your seat. Again, you're making sure that you continue.
So just a couple things I'm going to mention as we wait for that next screen to pop up. You can choose not to accept your invites. If you do that, what it means is you will remain on the wait list. So you can do nothing to the application and you will remain on the wait list. The big piece to know is that if you do not sign on before February 26th to respond to any invite, those are forfeited. So you really need to go on and see what you're invited for before you make a decision. You will keep those waitlist numbers, but any offer that you were given that you may not have responded to, you will lose that offer. So at this time, we're going to open it up for any questions that you may have. So please, once again, in the chat box, go ahead and type out any question you might have to put in there. I am going to repeat a couple things. One of the most common questions we get, especially with families who have multiple siblings. If one sibling gets in or gets an offer, and as long as your other siblings have the same program marked as their #1 ranked choice, and that's really important, it has to be the same program, #1 ranked choice, you can call the week after the acceptance period. So from March 1st through the 5th, you can claim what we call a newly invited sibling priority. And when Ms. V talked about the acceptance period during that initial waitlist number changing, this is one of the reasons why it might change. So we may be giving some newly invited sibling priorities during that time. Also, in the example that Ms. V showed, she showed you that she had multiple offers. Obviously, you can only take one offer. So in some cases, your waitlist number might actually get better because you can't be two places at once. So as they choose one and not the other, your number will go up. The date to know the official waitlist number is March 8th. So we give that newly invited sibling priority week, also that appeals week she spoke of, and then March 8th is when you will be able to call the school, and you would call the school directly, and you can find out what your waitlist number is.
So our first question is, will everyone know their application results on the 15th, or do we need to check every day?
Your application results are available on February 15th through the 26th. So whether you check on the first day or the last day, it's still the same.
And that waitlist number we talked about, that's not going to change during the acceptance period. That will not change until March 8th. So you can go in, you can go every day. You could change your mind every day. Whatever is the last thing you hit before 5 p.m. on February 26th, that will be what stays in the system as far as your selection.
And I'd like to add, Ellen, that if you do go in and make changes to one of your seat offers, you do need to make sure you continue through the entire process. Otherwise, it will come up as you haven't made a selection. So you have to go through the whole thing till the very, very end.
Another question. If we get on the wait list for the IB program, will we be able to know our number on the wait list and what deadline we are expected to hear back on our status?
Okay, so if you are not given an initial invitation and you are on a wait list, what will happen is as seats become available, the school will call from the wait list in numerical order. So they're not going to go from 1 and skip to 15. They're going to call the first person, offer a seat, and then the second person. Waitlist offers for 7th through 12th grade can be extended anywhere up until next year. It'll be January 19th of 2022. So you may get an invitation that week of March 8th. You may get one in the summer. You may get one once the school year started. So 7th through 12th grade goes to officially, it's the 11th day of the second semester, which this upcoming school year will be January 19th. And for grades kindergarten through 7th grade, waitlist calls can go out till March 1st.
When and where will bus routes be posted?
So
Sorry.
bus routes are usually determined in July. If you wanted to get a better idea of what that timing might look like, you can always reach out to our transportation center, 587-2020. They can give you an idea of what the bus route is today and kind of look near where you live and give you an idea of what it might look like next year. But just like the bus routes at school, they'll come out in the summer.
We missed the discovery nights in the fall. Will the system make links to the recordings available?
So not all schools recorded. Those that have recorded should be on the school's website. So you would go and check out the school's website. The nice thing too, coming up in March, is every school is doing some sort of expo. So middle schools will be having a 6th grade expo, high schools will be having a 9th grade expo. So there's still opportunities, and once you accept, those schools are gonna reach out to you and welcome you and have some type of new family orientation to be able to welcome you into the school.
And I can't help myself. I'm so sorry for interrupting. But John Hopkins Middle School has a fabulous Discovery Night video posted on our website, www.gojhop.com. I highly encourage you to watch it, and our Expo Night is March 9th, and you should check us out.
If the gifted screening has not been completed, would our child be ineligible?
So currently, they'll be marked down as ineligible. So if you go in, you'll see that column where it'll say ineligible. However, once that screening process is completed and your child has been determined to be gifted eligible, you would just reach out to the school you applied for, and that coordinator will put you back on the eligible list. So you will go back onto the wait list at that time.
What happens after February 26th if you accepted a spot?
After you've accepted a seat, when the acceptance period closes on the 26th, you will be removed from all other wait lists, with the exception of if you accepted a seat for a program and you are on the wait list for Center for Gifted Studies, you would still remain on the wait list for Center for Gifted Studies.
And that's really important. So accepting any program is going to take you off of all other wait lists. A lot of times we have people who are accepting a program and thinking they're still going to remain on the wait list. That's not the case. By accepting one, you're giving up the others, except for, as Ms. V said, in the case of a Center for Gifted Studies.
What is the late application?
So for those of you who did not go on or were not able to apply or are new to the county and moving here, we have a late application period. So if you were not able to apply during the initial application period, we open it up for late applications. You can go in and make your selections, and that late application period will open on March 23rd. It is a little bit different than the initial application period. In the initial, it's a random lottery or computer-generated lottery. In the wait list or the late application period, what will happen is it's time-stamped. So when you apply, you will go to the bottom of the wait list. We do have one exception or one priority claim that you can make during that time, and that is if you are an active military and you have active orders where you transferred into our county after the initial application period. If that's the case, when you go to apply, you can apply for a military priority claim.
If I cannot find the application number, what do I do? And is this required?
You do not need to have your application number. That's just a way to make your life easier. Remember, you need your parent username and password. To get in the system, and then to search for your kiddo, you can use their student ID number, which is found in Portal. You can use their username and log in for Portal to check for that. And you can also just type in their name, first and last name, and their birthday using the same spelling that you used when you applied.
If my son gets into a program at a high school, how do I get priority for my daughter to go to the same high school but not in the same program?
So as per school board policy, as far as if you applied for a high school DAP program, you only get sibling priority if it's for the same program. So let's say Palm Harbor, they have a Center for Wellness and Medical Professions as well as an IB program. If one child is in the IB program, you would not get a sibling priority for the Center for Wellness. So it has to be the same program that you would get the priority for.
How do you select programs so you can see if they accepted your child? Also, if the siblings are younger, do we list them?
So if I'm interpreting the question correctly, when you go in to apply, you would go ahead and select the programs that you want. You can choose anywhere from one program up to 5 different programs. With the late application period, it's a little bit different because you do not actually rank them. It's a check mark, and you're just marking off which 5 programs that you would want. As I described, when you apply during the late application period, you're actually just going to the bottom of the current wait list. So the ranking doesn't come in place as much. The sibling priority is only available during the initial application period. So during the late application period or any time other than that 1 week we talked about a couple different times, that newly invited sibling priority period, which is March 1st through the 5th, sibling priority doesn't come into play. So if you already applied, one sibling got in and the others didn't, during that week of March 1st through the 5th, you're going to want to contact that school. And if you put the same program and you rank them all number 1, you would get a newly invited sibling priority. What that does is it'll give you that claim and it'll move you towards the top of the wait list. Won't necessarily guarantee you a seat unless there's quite a few people who didn't reply or didn't accept. You may get a call right away. But what it will do is it'll give you a better chance to get into that program. So if one gets in and the others don't, March 1st through 5th, and you're going to call that school.
Are waitlist numbers updated on the portal?
No. So that temporary waitlist number is only good up until March 8th. On March 8th is when the finalized waitlist number comes into play. So that'll be your actual waitlist number. You can call any school to find out, or the program that you applied for to find out that waitlist number, and they will call. So you may check once a month, or you may check another time, but after March 8th, you would have to reach out to this program's school, the coordinator. Sometimes they'll have someone designated when you call in, like to find out your waitlist number, press 2. Each school is a little bit different, but you would just reach out to that DAP school, and they can help tell you what that waitlist number is.
And parents, I would encourage you, if you are calling to find out your wait list number and you have that question about what are my chances of getting into your program, that would be a good time to ask.
My daughter applied for Tech High here in Seminole. Is that a lottery process?
So all our DAP programs are a random computer-based generated lottery. So when you apply, if less people apply than available seats, we do the generated, and you will have some who go on a wait list and some who are given an offer. If there's less people than available seats, then everybody would get an offer for that program.
Will my child have a sure seat to the school assigned to our address?
If you've applied for a program and you accept the seat, you will be in that program for next school year.
So there's also something that's not part of the DAP program, and that is your zoned or your neighborhood school. And we often say that it's your first choice because where you live is based upon you were assigned a neighborhood school. And you can find out that school by going to www.pcsb.org/zone. And then you type in your address, and it's going to tell you what your zone school is. You are automatically assigned to that zone school unless it's at capacity, and we don't have any of those schools currently. So your neighborhood school would be where you would attend. And that website, if you just, like I said, www.pcsb.org/zone will tell you what your zone school is.
What if I want to select a different program?
Well, again, during the acceptance period, so the 15th through the 26th, you can go and make changes to the programs that were offered during that time frame. After that time frame, if you were wanting to make a change, you would need to be released from the program that you accepted, and then you could either make another application during the late application process, or you could possibly wait, well, you will be waiting to get offered a seat from another school once your number comes up.
So, and I'm going to piggyback onto what you just said. Let's say I accepted a seat at my number 3 choice, and I decided I really wanted what I put for number 1. Once that late application period comes, the computer system's not going to recognize that one's a wait list and one you chose. So you'd have to give up your seat at that number 3 program. So you would call student assignment, you'd have to give up the seat that you accepted for the program, and then you could apply for a late application period. Let's say you applied for 5 different programs, and you applied for the most popular ones, and you might be like 400 something on the wait list and decide that your chances of getting an offer when it's 400 something are going to be slim to none. So maybe you want to, during the late application period, switch up some of your options. Once again, you would just call the student assignment office. We would go ahead and delete 1 or 2 that you tell us. So if you have like low numbers where the likelihood of getting a seat is going to be very little, we can go ahead and take that program off, which would then free up a spot to apply for a different program at that time.
What happens if none of our choices offers us a seat?
Do you want to take it?
Oh, go ahead, my turn, sorry. If you are not offered a seat, then you would remain on the school's wait list. Remember, you'll see in the I lost my train of thought. The wait list, a wait list number, you'll remain on their wait list, and then of course your wait list number could change on March 8th, but you would remain on the wait list, and the schools would call and offer you a seat as seats open up.
And I'm going to piggyback onto this too, because a lot of times we'll get calls or parents will get frustrated because they feel like I've applied for 4 years in a row and I've never got an offer. Typically, schools have seats in the initial application grade. So typically kindergarten, because there's not a grade where the kids who are already in are going to move up to. So kindergarten tends to have the most seats. Some schools will be able to offer some in 4th grade. For elementary schools, just because the class size average changed. And then 6th grade is the next one where we have the most seats available, and then 9th grade. The way it is once you're in a program, you're in there until you decide not to. So we have very little seats available on any other grade levels other than that kindergarten, 4th, 6th, and 9th. So it may seem like you've applied for 4 years in a row, but if you applied for kindergarten, then 1st, 2nd, 3rd, there's only going to be a handful of seats in those programs open, but that initial grade level is the easiest time to get into those schools.
I'm pretty sure you just answered this question, Ellen, but I'm going to ask it anyways. If we don't get into the IB program in 9th grade, what are the chances that we can reapply in the 10th grade and get in?
So very good. The IB program will allow 10th grade applications. You want to make sure you're looking at that entrance criteria. So you want to make sure that you've had that Algebra 1, usually going into 9th grade. But for 10th grade, you want to make sure that you've had geometry. So you would make sure to have that geometry class for the math. And then they'd look at other entrance criteria, but you can definitely get into IB your 10th grade year.
can you still accept an invite after the 26th?
So not through the SRS system. If after the 26th, calls will start going out from the wait list typically around March 8th. So once that wait list number is finalized, schools will start calling from the wait list. So they'll start to call an offer. So if you don't go in and accept online, you'd be on a wait list, and it would just be a matter of, as seats open, schools will reach out to you and make the offer. So it's actually, you would offer and they would pull you in on their end.
If we choose to remain on the wait list, will we remain on it throughout the school year in case someone drops or relocates?
Well, if they are in, for example, I'm going to use middle school, for example. If they are a 6th grader or a 7th grader and they're on the wait list, they're going to remain from, let's say March, okay, I'm going to use March 8th, all the way through until March, what's the exact? March 1st. If they're an 8th grader, for example, in middle school, they're going to drop off in February. So they do have a set time frame that they're on the wait list, but it is pretty extended because you're looking at going all the way into next year.
And as a parent, you'll have that choice. So if the school year has started and your child has started in their neighborhood school, or if you're looking at something called a special assignment request, and you get that call from the magnet school, at that time you get to choose to either accept the offer, or you can decline it. So you have some options once it starts. The one thing, another question that we get frequently is, why don't the wait list numbers roll over from year to year? And we have such families moving in or families moving out that it doesn't roll over from year to year. So just because you applied last year for the 2021 school year doesn't mean it'll automatically roll over for the 21-22 school year. So that wait list will end, as Ms. V said, either March 1st for kindergarten through 7th grade, or 8th grade through 12th would be the 11th day of the second semester, which next year is January 19th.
If I accept a seat at a magnet school, can I still do a special assignment request for a different school in April?
Yes. So we typically get quite a few people who will do one and then the other. So, or sometimes they'll apply for both just in case. With that, the one thing to know, and the student assignment office will call you, is the SAR will supersede the magnet. So if you accepted a seat into a magnet program and you applied for an SAR, and you're going to get the SAR, it would take away your magnet seat. So you want to make sure that when the call comes out from the district about granting a special assignment request, that you're prepared that means that you're going to give up that magnet seat. For those of you who keep hearing me say SAR, special assignment request, and have no idea what I'm talking about, I just want to explain it a little bit. During April 1st through 15th, we offer families another type of choice. So just like our magnet and fundamental schools are a choice for Pinellas County families, we also offer the choice of attending a non-zone school. So what this means is you might be zoned for Lila Davis, but you work near Mildred Helms. So you could apply from April 1st through 1st, is the initial SAR application period. So you could apply during that time. And what that would do is it would allow your child, if there's capacity, to be issued to be able to attend Mildred Helms. So you could apply for a non-zone school. When I say non-zone, I don't mean DAP, because that also has an application period. So you can apply for a school that is a neighborhood school, a non-zone, but it's not a magnet or fundamental. Transportation is not offered for an SAR, so it's a little bit different than DAP. But you could definitely apply, and it's just another option or choice that Pinellas County provides its families.
Ellen, could I just ask a question for a parent? If they applied for the SAR, is that something that they would have to request every year, or is that ongoing while they're at that school level?
That is a good question. Once you're issued an SAR, you actually will maintain there until the end of that school's configuration. So if you get an SAR in an elementary program, it'll take you all the way to 5th grade. Now, there are a couple exceptions. If attendance is an issue, so let's say you were granted a special assignment request and you're having issues getting your child to school, so lots of tardies, lots of attendances, or there's discipline. There's a couple of reasons why the district might revoke that SAR, but for the most part, you'll be there at that school until that grade configuration ends. So either at the end of 5th grade, 8th grade, or 12th grade.
making sure I understand. If we accept one, but we're not on a wait list for another one, as soon as we accept one, we are removed from the wait list.
That is correct. If during the acceptance period, if you accept an offer, you are removed from all other wait lists with the exception of the Center for Gifted Studies wait list. You will, if you accepted a program and you also applied for Center for Gifted Studies, you will remain on their wait list even if you chose another school. But again, if you were offered a seat for the Center for Gifted Studies and you don't accept it, then you will be taken off the wait list.
We had to move unexpectedly after the application. Still living in Pinellas County, how do we handle that?
Call the student assignment by the end of this week. Invitations, the lottery is due to be run on Thursday and Friday. So you would please contact us so that we can kind of correct it and work with those choices. If not, you would have to look at a late application and change your address at that point and look to make a late application. There are several schools that have application areas, especially, and we get this a lot of times, like someone might apply for the Largo IB program and then move to Palm Harbor and think just because we moved to Palm Harbor, we can automatically go to the Palm Harbor University IB program. Not the case. You'd still have to apply for that other application area. So if that's something that we can correct beforehand, we would want to do that. If not, it would just be updating your address at your school and then making a late application for the current address.
If I didn't select a number 2 option, can I go back and pick one now?
So you can't make any changes up until the late application period. Once the late application period opens on March 23rd, you can definitely add on. One word of caution, when you go into the March 23rd, if you're on a current wait list, you want to make sure that you're not changing that one. So if you make a change in the order of your selections or rankings, it will, sorry, I'm not communicating this well. It will consider it as a brand new application. Your wait list number will change. So if there's a program that you're on, and you want to add more onto it, just don't touch that current one that's already in there, and you'll be fine. You'll be able to keep your current wait list number and then add more programs on.
Is the acceptance notifications posted at the end of the day on the 15th or in the morning?
So, starting at 12:01 a.m., and even though we say to people every single year, it does not matter if you jump on at that time, we will have 200 to 300 people who will jump on and accept an offer within the first 15 minutes. It is open from 12:01 a.m. on February 15th all the way to 5 p.m. on the 26th. And just a word of caution, and I can't say it enough, and every year, even with like the application period, we have people who think they have time or will wait till last day, and you never know, you are hospitalized, or there might be an accident, or something might happen. So I would just caution, please don't wait till the last minute. You never know when there's technical issues or anything else. Just do it before 5 p.m. on February 26th.
I would also recommend parents that if you are waking up at that 12:01 time frame to accept your application, please have some coffee first before you actually make your selection. That's just a parent pro tip.
What is the main criteria that determines who gets into the program after considering any sibling or other priorities? GPA, lottery? Example, Eastlake High School engineering program for a 10th grader who already goes to Eastlake.
Okay, so there is something called a proximity priority, which is only for entrance grade levels. So for kindergarten, 6th grade, or 9th grade. After the initial, if there was a feeder pattern priority, if there was a sibling priority, if there was a professional courtesy, there's a certain percentage that is offered some seats to people who live closest to that school. And it's a very complicated answer, so I will try to see if I can simplify it in a way that makes sense. 20% to 50%, depending on the school. Most elementary schools and middle schools are 20% of the remaining seats after the feeder, sibling, and professional courtesy. 20% will go to the students who live the closest. It's not a radius, so it's not people say like, oh, if you live within 2 miles, that is not the case. What they do is they use a formula called the Manhattan distance formula. And what it uses is latitude and longitude. So we use the Pinellas County tax appraisers, something that they create every single year called the Address Atlas. That Address Atlas has the longitude and latitude for every single address in the county. It's what 911 uses to send someone out. We use those calculations to figure out the distance using longitude, latitude of the school to your address. Sometimes that longitude, latitude might be at the front of the property, the back of the property. And for some cases, when the school is in the middle of a densely populated area, much like Eastlake, used an example, that distance may not be that big. So we have some schools where sometimes the distance, that proximity distance is like 0.25, and some that'll go out several miles. It changes every single year because it's based on who's applying and where they're applying from. So for example, let's take that we had 100 people apply, and let's say that 20 people were giving either a feeder pattern or a sibling priority. That leaves 80% or 80 seats available. So if we're in elementary or middle, with a few exceptions, it's going to be 20%. So 20% of 80 means that we would have 16 seats given to that proximity priority. After that, the remaining seats is just random computer-based lottery. I will be glad to explain it. If you have questions, if you're curious as to how the proximity seats or how many seats are given out for priority, please wait till after the acceptance period, and you can call student assignment, and I will be glad to walk you through and kind of explain any of that pieces with that. 10th grade wouldn't be. It's pure computer-generated lottery based on how many seats Eastlake High School would have available.
If my child gets accepted to a school that she isn't zoned for, will she still be able to get there on a bus?
It depends. So any of the magnet programs will provide something called arterial transportation. So if you live 2 or more miles away from the school, you will be given arterial transportation, which is not necessarily like a zone school or your neighborhood school's transportation. It's usually along major or main routes. So there's limited stops for that transportation process. If it is for an elementary fundamental program, the parents are responsible for the transportation. And this is also true for the middle school, Clearwater Fundamental Middle School, as well as Madeira Beach Fundamental Middle School. High school fundamentals do offer limited transportation, but if it's a magnet program or one of those high school career academies that are considered DAP, and you live 2 or more miles, you will be given arterial transportation.
If we get accepted to a school and we move in the middle of the year, will we still be eligible to go to that school?
I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. Actually, I'm going to piggyback on that question. And Ellen, if they move, let's say it's a South County application zone only, and they moved to a Mid or North County, would they still be able to go to that school, that program?
So by school board policy, we do allow a family, if they move, to remain at that one school. However, they may have to provide their own transportation. So if it's outside of that application area, transportation would not be provided, but we would follow school board policy, which would let you complete the year out at that school. And that's the same as a zone school too. So if you're at your neighborhood school and you move, we would offer the same opportunity to any of those families as well.
You mentioned 6th and 9th grade expos. Is there an elementary expo?
Yes, and those dates should be posted shortly. With that, the executive directors, I know middle schools has been finalized, and I know high school's been working on it. So those dates should be posted on the district websites shortly. So for those of you joining in, my name is Ellen Truskowski. I am the District Application Program Specialist as well as the Director of Student Assignment. We were walking people through the acceptance period, and right now we are in the Q&A section. So feel free to type any question you might have in the chat box. For those of you who missed the whole walking through the different steps, this will be recorded both on YouTube and Facebook. So you can come back to the same sites and be able to view it at a later time. And we'll also be putting it on our main website for district application programs, which is www.pcsb.org/DAP for district application programs. So there'll be multiple times if you missed the first part or you want to go back and listen to some of the answers for you to listen and get those answers as well. We'll see if some more questions might have come in and we'll start to address those.
We have more questions. If you don't get an invitation, do you have any other chances to not have to sign up with your zone school?
Well, if you've applied during the initial application period, if you did not get offered a seat, remember parents, you're going to remain on the school's wait list. So you do have an opportunity and a chance to get into the programs of choice. Now, as Ellen mentioned earlier, if you're choosing a school that, if you're number 400 on the wait list, I'm going to be honest, you ain't getting in, okay? So if you're 400, you may want to make some changes in your application. But if you're in the top 10, that sounds pretty golden to me for a lot of the programs. I can't speak for everyone. I'm not even going to comment on other numbers, but if you're 400, you can just, you can forget that. Sorry, I'm being probably too honest.
So what I will say, as Ms. B said, maybe if you have that lower, like 400 number, you may want to go on. So you can always, during the late application period, you can always go on and change some of your choices. So in addition to changing your choices and applying for different DAP programs, which are magnet and fundamental, we also offer that special assignment request. And that is where you can apply to attend a non-zone school. So a non-DAP, non-zone school. And at that time, so there's 2 application periods for that as well. The initial application period will open April 1st through the 15th. And then those results will typically go out before the end of the school year. And then there's a late application period for that as well. So the late application period will open up, and then you can apply for a special assignment request at that time as well. Special assignment requests are based off of school capacity. So if the school has available seats, and there's still some room for those people who live in the zone, we would go ahead and issue a special assignment request, which would then allow you to attend your non-zone school. So for the question asking if there's other opportunities besides the DAP and that wait list, there is something called that special assignment request, or an SAR. And more information for that can be found on the student assignment website, and that's www.pcsb.org/registration. So if you go to that, you got to scroll about halfway down the page, and I'll talk all about what that special assignment request is. And once again, that will not offer transportation, but it gives you another choice if the district application programs aren't working out for you.
Are there entrance requirements for eligibility to the IB program for kindergarten, i.e. Sanderlin?
No.
The only entrance requirement is being 5 years of age and going. It's a little bit different from the high school program. High school program has entrance criteria due to the rigorous nature of the coursework and the fact that you can get an IB diploma. Kindergarten through 8th grade, it's more getting acclimated to the principles and policies of IB, the framework, the global aspects of it. So there's no criteria needed for any of the programs leading up to high school with the IB program.
How do I get both my kids into the same high school if my son has been accepted in a program? My daughter does not want to be in the program. She just wants to go to the same high school as him.
So in that case, if one is in with a district application program, that what I was just talking about a minute ago, the special assignment request, would be what you would want to do. So as long as there's capacity on that zone side, we would look at granting that request. And so then you would have one going as an SAR and one with the DAP or the district application program.
If you choose to remain on the wait list, will you be on the wait list the remainder of the calendar school year?
No. So if you will not remain on the wait list the entire, let's talk about for next year, so 21, 22. If you are K through 7, you're going to remain on the wait list until March, what's the date, Ellen?
March 1st.
March 1st. I don't want to misspeak. Thank you. And if you are 8 through 12th, you're going to remain on the wait list till January 19th. Is that correct? Okay.
So the reason we end the wait list for the one then is that if you think about the timing right now, we're about to go into the acceptance period and we're about to have wait lists for the next school year. We have to make room and way for the next school year's wait list. So one will end January 19th or March 1st of next year. And even if you think about it this year, the wait list numbers are coming out March 8th. So we need to make room for the next year's wait list piece with that.
Can you still apply this year for the 2021-22 school year program?
So if you're applying for this current school year, the 2021 school year, the late application period has ended, but you can still apply for next year's programs, but you would apply during the late application period. So you would go back, same website as the acceptance period, so the https://reservation.pcsb.org, that same website, and you would make a late application period, or application. So that late application will make you eligible and put you on a wait list for the 21-22 school year.
Do we check new to Pinellas County schools if we're coming from a charter?
No. So if you are coming from a charter school, I'm sorry, I can't.
No, go
If you're coming from a charter school in Pinellas County, you are actually have a student ID number, so you're actually in our system. So you would be considered in Pinellas County schools. And when you go on to that website, you'll see in parentheses, it does say a Pinellas County charter school. So you would choose a current student or or had attended at one time.
Is there another opportunity to shadow in the IB program if my child receives an invite?
So current safety protocols have prevented us from some of the traditional marketing aspects to kind of get used to or see what the campuses are. Due to safety protocols right now, we're not offering shadowing experiences. Several of the schools have done a video shadowing experience, so if you go to their website, you can kind of get a little bit of an idea. And then you can also work, a lot of them are doing like Q&A sessions with students. So it may not be a shadow where you get to go to the school, but you could still talk to some of the current students. And that I would just direct you to each of the program's websites and you can see what opportunities that they have there. But due to safety protocols, we're not currently offering shadowing experiences. Some schools are doing tours after school hours end. Some are doing virtual tours. But once again, all that should be posted on the individual schools' websites.
If my daughter gets into the high school IB program this year, will my second daughter get sibling priority for the same IB program 2 years from now?
Yes, in order to qualify for sibling priority, remember they have to be applying for the same program and they have to still be attending the same school. So if your son is entering as a 9th grader and in 2 years he's going to be an 11th grader, and then you could get sibling priority for your 9th grade student entering high school.
Does Palm Harbor University High School have any other programs other than the IB program and medical program? And can you get in just taking regular high school classes?
So you can apply for an SAR, that's special assignment request for Palm Harbor. It depends on their capacity numbers. Palm Harbor tends to be a pretty populated school, So the SARs are not something they're given, but not just everyone who applies gets it. So we need to look at the capacity of next year to be able to make that determination for that. But there is a chance to be able to attend Palm Harbor. It would be through an SAR. Just right now, I can't say what those chances are because it'll also depend on how many people apply at the time.
Is the lottery based on criteria: 1, students of employees; 2, active duty; 3, location of residence?
So the first priority has to do with feeder pattern, and that's typically only for middle schools and then high school fundamental programs. After feeder pattern priority, there's sibling priority, and then there's something called professional courtesy priorities, and that for the full-time staff member at that school. So if I had a kiddo, I wouldn't get a professional courtesy because I work at the district office. So to get a professional courtesy priority, I would have to work full-time at that program or at that school for that. After that, there's something called the proximity priority, and that is that Manhattan distance formula. Well, they'll look at a certain percentage of how many seats are available after those priorities, and then it's the random computer generated. So there's a randomizer that's applied when you enter your application that randomizes the numbers. Those priorities give a little bit different kind of weighting for it. And then the rest, after that proximity, it's just randomly selected numbers.
If my child applies to 2 different groups at the same high school, but finds out about a new high school that we are very interested in, when would be the correct time to apply for the new school?
The late application period starts March 23rd. So you could go in and make an application for a school on March 23rd and beyond.
So for those of you who are joining us right now, we're just waiting and seeing how many more questions come in and answering those questions. If you missed the first part where we walked you through the different steps on how to check the status of your application, or to see what the steps are and explain, like, what does a temporary waitlist number mean? What does ineligible mean? This video will be available on both Facebook and YouTube at the same link for you to check at a later date, as well as the district application program website at www.pcsb.org. And we will stay on to answer the questions. If we get to the point where we are not getting any more questions in and you still have a few, you can always email student assignment or DAP, and that's dap@pcsb.org. And so I will stop talking and see if we have any more questions that came in.
What were the SAR application dates again?
So the initial special assignment request is April 1st through the 15th. So you would go to the same exact sign-in spot, the reservation.pcsb.org. District application period right now is our programs are the top choice, but one of the different links once you sign in will say special assignment request. That link will become visible during the initial application period of April 1st through the 15th, and then again during the late application period.
If I accept a magnet fundamental spot, do I lose my zone school?
Yes, sort of. So you may accept it and then over the summer change your mind, and then you can give up your DAP seat, and as long as there's still space at your zone school, you would go back to your zone school, but you can't be 2 places in once. So if you accept a seat in the DAP program, that's the school that you would be attending, or the program that you would be attending, not your zoned. If you want to go back to the zone seat, that is, you'd reach out to the DAP coordinator, and they work with student assignment to get you a reservation back to your zone school with that.
Ellen, I'm going to ask a question as a parent. If my kiddo is currently in a magnet program and I applied during this application time for a different program, talking about the same grade level or same like elementary, middle, or high, the same program, can I still attend the magnet that they're in while I'm waiting on the wait list for another school?
That's a really good question. We would let you finish out this school year. At the end of this school year, you would have a choice to make. So you can either remain at the same DAP program that you're currently in and come off the wait list, or at the end of the school year, you could choose that maybe you really want to stay on that wait list for a different program and go to your zone school. So at the end of the school year, your current DAP program will go ahead and contact you, usually with a letter or form, for you to make that choice. After that choice, you would either go to the zone school and stay on the wait list, or stay at your current school and come off the wait list. So you'll be able to remain in the program until the end of the school year.
My child has applied for the literacy program. Will she continue in this up until graduating from elementary, or will I have to apply every year?
So that's another really good question. Once you are in a program, you're in it until that grade level configuration ends. So if they're applying for the Center of Literacy Innovation, and they get in, they would remain in the program till 5th grade, unless they have made such gains where the teachers feel and you're comfortable where you would want to go back to the zone program. That's a decision that any district application program student has or family has. You can remain in the program as long as you want. At any time, you can ask to go back to your zone school. But once you're in, you're in. You don't need to reapply.
Does every student that minimally qualifies for an IB program go into the lottery for those seats? Or are there further evaluations related to how far a child exceeds those requirements?
So high school IB and ACE programs, the Cambridge ACE program, have academic entrance criteria. And they're one of the few programs that do have entrance criteria. We also have the Gifted Center, full-time Gifted Centers, which you would need an EP, or GIBS, the Pinellas County Center for the Arts program, which requires an addition. So the IB program, they're looking at making sure that you're entering with at least Algebra 1 honors with the EOC course, just due to the nature of the rigorous math work. They're looking at FSA scores. They're looking to see, did you take a foreign language, world language, not to the exclusion that if you don't have all of that, you can't go. So they have a rubric to work with some others. So we have like what they call a target group 1 and a target group 2 population, and we offer seats to both. If it exceeds the entrance criteria, then you would be in one of those groups and get an offer. If not, they would call and they would work with you to let you know on that. But so you have to pass that entrance criteria to be able to be eligible for the lottery in a high school ACE or IB program.
My daughter applied for the dance program, but she wants to go into the veterinary instead, which she didn't apply for. How do I go about applying for the veterinary instead?
During the late application period, starting on March 23rd, you can go in and make changes to your application, or of course, if you haven't applied, you can complete an application. Now, during the initial application period, if you chose 5 schools to apply for, you will have to contact student assignment to make adjustments to your application, because you can only have 5 schools that you applied for. If you had only applied for 2 or 3 schools, then that gives you a couple of open applications that you can make, and so you can go in during the late application to add those schools.
Correct.
This is our last question. If I need to reset my parent username and password, will that affect my application?
Go.
Parents, remember, we always encourage you to start early. Do not wait to the last day of the acceptance period. You want to go in sooner than later. If you need your password reset, of course, you can always call student assignment. You can also go to the school closest to you, even if that is a school that your child doesn't attend. If you are visiting a school, whether it's your home school or not, you do need to make sure that you have a valid ID or a driver's license, and your password can be reset.
So thank you so much for joining us for tonight's district application program session on how to check your application status and how to respond to an offer. Like I said earlier, these videos will still be up and then posted on our district webpage of www.pcsb.org. If you have any questions that you would like to get further addressed or have some follow-up, please email us at dap.pcsb.org or call the Student Assignment Office at 727-588-6210. Once again, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us tonight.